SadFan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad in the previous week. And we are so happy to see you this week on a very special Christmas Eve episode of TheSadFan. First, if you hate football, this is not the episode for you because this is going to be a very NFL-centric episode. Yes, we will talk about the college football playoffs, but not too much, as we knew the group of 5 teams would get blown out. However, Oregon got given a fight, and we're going to discuss that a little bit. We did have to see the 2 worst teams in the college football playoff play one another so that the SEC could have another team make it to the next round. So that's kind of gross. But first, as I promised, we're going to go ahead and start with the NFL. I want to start with the Detroit Lions and just say what happened. The division, yes, it got tougher, but the Detroit Lions still had a solid team. And we're going to say injuries. Injuries happened to the Detroit Lions. That's the only thing that took them out of this. That and a couple calls went against them that went for them last year. I don't think that Jared Goff is worse without Ben Johnson. However, the play calling might be. But Jared Goff is Jared Goff. He's a game manager that can keep you in a game. He may never be the quarterback that wins you a game. And now, though dim, their playoff hopes are still alive, and they are counting on Jared Goff to go out and win them a game. It cannot always be Jahmyr Gibbs. It just can't be, or Montgomery. Because what's going to happen is they're going to stack the box, and you've got to get the ball to the 5th leading receiver in the NFL as far as yardage is concerned in Amon-Ra. The Lions are a team that all of us were pulling for last year. We really wanted to see Buffalo against Detroit. Everybody outside of Philadelphia and Kansas City wanted that matchup, but we got Kansas City and Philadelphia. Now, this year, the Lions have a scarce chance of making the playoffs. Scarce. It's still there. But they've given up their spot to the Chicago Bears. The Packers have given up their spot to the Chicago Bears. And here we are. Minnesota disappeared off the face of the earth under J.J. McCarthy. So they're going to have to figure that out because under Sam Darnold, they were good. They were decent. They were the best team in the NFL for most of the season last year. Now, we don't know what the Minnesota Vikings are. Are they in rebuild mode? Because that's really what it looks like with that aging defense. Though good, they are aging. Now, the Detroit Lions, they're in this limbo that exists in the NFL where one season to the next, they could be phenomenal. They could be great. But right now, they're on that downside of that. And I don't think that this limbo space is going to go away next year. Injuries can very much take this team out of it, much like it did to the Packers. The Packers had an opportunity to be the best team in the NFL, the best defense. Instead, now we have Denver and Houston in that role of the best defense in the NFL. So because of this, we're going to give Detroit Lions a pass on the season. They get a pass. This season was not for them. There was too many injuries. The Chicago Bears, though I believe it to be a flash in the pan, were very good. I love Johnson. He was my favorite head coach in this coaching cycle. And unfortunately for us, the Raiders got Pete Carroll and not Ben Johnson. But you're seeing the effects of losing both offensive and defensive coordinators and how it can hit a team and how that team has to adjust and rebuild. Now, next year, I think that the Lions are going to be at the top of this division because the Packers are so hurt. Many of those injuries are going to go into next year. The Vikings, like I said earlier, are going to be in a rebuild mode. So that leaves Detroit and Chicago and maybe Green Bay if they could squeeze in. And I think that Detroit is a lot better than they showed this year. And I think they're a lot better without all of these injuries. So I think Detroit gets a pass this year. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Detroit Lions next year and see what they can do because they're not that old. And they can recover from these injuries at the start of next season, unlike Green Bay, who has some pretty severe injuries that could take them out of it next year. And they also have a very bad receiving core. Like, granted, Love makes it work with them, but they're not great, and they're not someone that you would want your team to have. So let's take a look at next year for the Detroit Lions as them being an early favorite to overcome all this adversity from 2025 and be a top team next year. But this year, I think it's over. It's all been sung. And now we've got the Chicago Bears in the playoffs, and I don't think they have a chance. I don't even think they have a puncher's chance in this year's playoff. So it's going to be sad for the NFC North to see last year, 2024, a team that we definitely thought had an opportunity to go all the way to the Super Bowl to a team that's just kind of fun to watch in the Chicago Bears. We got to talk about the Cowboys, right? Because no one can shut up about the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the most annoying team in the NFL because somehow they hang around like a fly that won't fly out of the window in your car when all four windows are rolled down. Somehow that fly manages to stay in your windshield, right in your viewing area. And that's where the Dallas Cowboys exist. They exist directly in your viewing area, and we cannot shake them. We can't get them out of our lives. The Cowboys were a terrible team this year, and somehow they have an opportunity to break above 500. Somehow they have that opportunity. Somehow they have the opportunity to be in a really weird place of 8-8 and 1 tie. Now that we have 17 games, that's really awkward, right? That's a weird thing to still find a way to go 8-8, Dallas. You manage a way to go 8-8, which is incredibly awkward. But they were all set up to have one of the most amazing offenses we've seen in a long time, and I knew it was false. I knew it wouldn't work out, and it didn't. Why? Because George Pickens is so good and so volatile. CeeDee Lamb can't stay healthy. This team had a chance to be great, but then you had to remember their quarterback is Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott is just mediocre. I've been saying this for years. He's Kirk Cousins, guys. He's a more athletic Kirk Cousins, and that's what we've got. Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott, and we have to watch them every year. Why? Because there's only 32 quarterback positions in the NFL, and if you find somebody that can at least be mediocre in that role, you don't let him go. Ask the Raiders. Like, I like Derek Carr. I was a Derek Carr guy, but they found him and they couldn't let him go. But because the Dallas Cowboys were so piss poor, because the Washington Commanders could not relive some of what they were capable of in 2024, we now have the Philadelphia Eagles with one of the most boring playing styles we have ever seen in 2025. The Philadelphia Eagles of 2025. Able to make it again. And they are the Floyd Mayweathers of the NFL. They can drag a game into boring territory where you're just watching to see if they lose. Because, like, they will give you a flash, like one punch, and you get that from an A.J. Brown. One punch, and you get that from a Saquon Barkley. And one punch, and you get that from a Devonta Smith. And that's it, though. And then you got to wait 4 games for them to do anything, for them to be exciting. Now, Maybe they're holding their fire for the playoffs. Maybe they're holding all of their fancy plays to show us what they can do in the playoffs, but I don't think so. I think this team is an upset in the playoffs waiting to happen. They're going to get a home game because they're going to win that sorry-ass division that is the NFC East, that overrated division that is the NFC East. However, they're not a team that anyone's scared of this year, even though they have all these superstars. They're a team that's ready to implode. They're a team like the Golden State Warriors in the 3rd year, where Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and it all hit the fan against the Toronto Raptors. And that's what we're looking at right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're looking at a team that's not going to be able to hold it together. We're looking at a team that's tearing at the seams, and we're going to get the results of that in this year's playoff. Now, right now, I think that Philly is a scary team because of their ability to drag a game into the mud, because they do still have those big name players. However, I don't think they're going to be able to do it this year. I think we have more parity in the NFL this year than we have ever had, and some people don't like that. Those people can suck it. Suck it. Who cares? We don't need a great champion. We need fun football games like we got out of Seattle and Los Angeles on this Thursday night. Last Thursday night, pardon me. And now we've got to get to the NFC South, right? We've got to get to the Buccaneers and wonder what the hell happened. Like, we've got these defensive minds in Doug McDermott, who we're going to get to in a second, and Todd Bowles, and they can't coach a defense to save their damn lives. They just can't. They can't win. Their quarterback has to find a way to win with 2 minutes left every single game because they can't stop the opposition. And they want to blame the offensive players for an interception. And yes, it is that player's fault. However, it is also your job to come up with a scheme to stop the opposing squad, and you cannot do that. And it's getting ridiculous that let's just put it on Superman's shoulders. No, how about you guys coach a game plan that allows you to stop the opposing squad as these great defensive coordinators in the final 2 minutes of a game? That's also a possibility. That's also that's something that can happen. You can take ownership of your bullshit, of your inability to coach a defense to hold the opposition. And that's what I've seen. McDermott's been sorry all year long. You could say, yeah, well, if he had Ed Oliver. No. How about you come up with a good scheme, McDermott? Todd Bowles, how about you come up with a good scheme? You had everything in front of you, and it all fell to pieces. Now, granted, the Buccaneers, again, just like the Detroit Lions, are one of the most injured NFL teams that we have seen all year long. However, you are considered a great defensive mind. Make it happen on the defensive side. Give your quarterback an opportunity to just control the game, not have to go out there and throw the world on his shoulders to make sure it continues to spin for your squad, because it's getting ridiculous with these great defensive minds that can't stop a squad. I do not want to see Carolina in the playoffs. I would love to see Baker Mayfield. I think that Tampa Bay team is far more exciting than the Carolina Panthers are. I think that they are a tougher out than the Carolina Panthers are, though the Carolina Panthers have given us some upsets on this season, pardon me. But I think that the Buccaneers can pull off some upsets, and I think that that's more exciting. So if somehow the Buccaneers can find a way to win out, and the Carolina Panthers can find a way to stop winning, because somehow they found their way to 8-7. By the grace of whatever you believe in, somehow the Carolina Panthers are 8-7. I didn't think they could do it. Somehow they managed. And now they are in a position to ruin what could be a fun playoff race. And we're going to have to deal with that. Let's get to the most exciting division and the actual toughest division in all of football, the NFC West. The NFC West is insane, with the 49ers able to hang around. Like Shanahan, maybe he can't win the big one. Maybe Shanahan can't win the big one. But this 49ers team, no matter how many injuries, no matter what happens, because their whole defense is hurt, Bosa's out, Warner's out, Purdy's been out an extended amount of time. They don't have any wide receivers that are able to stay in a game for 3 weeks in a row. And somehow Shanahan can coach this team to the playoffs every single year. Right now, they're actually ahead of the Browns in their, they're actually ahead of the Rams in their division. That's insane, because the Rams are one of the best teams in the league this year. And I don't think the 49ers necessarily are, but golly, are they well coached, because somehow the 49ers have found their way again in this dance. Now, they had to play Phillip Rivers on Monday night, so that wasn't really a tough matchup, man. And let's shout out to Phillip Rivers. Boy, is that old man putting up a fight in every game he's in. That Colts team is good. It's sad to see it go down like this, because they've got a lot of really fun players to watch on that squad, and I hope they all come back, and I hope they find a quarterback for next year. But the 49ers now are wiggling their way into a position where they're in contention for the number 1 overall seed with 2 weeks remaining. That's absolutely batty. That's insane. That should have not happened with the amount of injuries that they've had. And Seattle, somehow, despite Sam Darnold, who has had a great season, but man, he's trying to lose some games, are in the front seed, or the first seed. They're leading the way. And you got to ask yourself, what the hell is going on? Because I know that the 49ers are an extremely well-coached team. I know that the Seattle Seahawks are an extremely well-coached defense, with a really good team around that defense, with some really great highlight players. But when I look at Seattle, do I trust them as much as I trust the 49ers? And the answer is no. We're looking at the 49ers saying, hey, that's probably going to be the team that's going to test the Rams. Oh, the Rams? That's probably going to be the team that tests Philadelphia. No one's looking at Seattle saying that's a team that's going to compete. People are looking at Seattle like they looked at Minnesota Vikings last year and saying, wow, that was a fun team to watch. Not a lot to talk about in the AFC right now. I mean, Patriots, but yawn. I mean, I love Drake May, but yawn. Mike Vrabel is such a great coach, but yawn. We don't want to see them go further than Buffalo. So it was a great win for the Buffalo Bills to come back from so far down a couple weeks ago to take out the Patriots. But like I said on last week's show, Doug McDermott needs to figure this out, because there's no reason why he has to do it against Cleveland. There's no reason why Josh Allen has to do this against the Cleveland Browns. McDermott, figure your stuff out. Figure it out, because this is the year to do it if you're Buffalo. If you are the Buffalo Bills, I've been saying this all year long, and I have not gotten off this bandwagon. This is the year to go to the Super Bowl for Buffalo. This is a weak AFC. This is your shot to get to that Super Bowl, one game to decide it all, and have Buffalo win a Super Bowl. You've got a superhuman at quarterback that, I mean, yeah, he almost got hurt, but God, it's so hard for him to get taken down. It is the year that you have right now in front of you nothing that can stop you. Nothing except for McDermott. McDermott is the only thing standing in the way of the Buffalo Bills. Speaking of this game, though, Myles Garrett, holy shit. Holy shit, Myles Garrett, 22 sacks on the year. One more sack, and he has the record for the most sacks in an NFL season, and there's 2 games left. Myles Garrett is such a phenomenal team on such a phenomenal player on such a terrible team. He is their new Joe Thomas, who was the best left tackle in 30 years, and he now is known for being on the losingest team in history. And is that going to be Myles Garrett too? Like, just a great player on a loser of a franchise? They're going to do this like the Lions did to Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders, where they just ran Joe Thomas into the ground. Now they're going to run Myles Garrett into the ground, and it's sad to watch, but golly, is Myles Garrett fun to watch. Baltimore Ravens, yuck. I mean, that team, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's time for a change at head coach, but to allow Pittsburgh to vomit their way into the playoffs because you are so incompetent in Baltimore all of a sudden is insane to me. I mean, and they did it. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it. They're going to make it in to the playoffs without DK Metcalf because he punches people like an idiot. Because, I mean, like, I don't believe that you should be allowed to taunt a fan that close to the field, but also have some self-control and know where you are and know who you are. Because it looks like DK Metcalf's going to miss the rest of the season, and still they're going to beat out the Baltimore Ravens for a playoff spot. The Pennsylvania, holy hell. 2 home playoff games for 2 teams that are like pretty mediocre if you think about it. That's wild. That's insane that this is going to happen in the NFL. But it's going to happen. Why? Because Baltimore couldn't live up to their potential, and because Pittsburgh somehow was able to limp into the playoffs again under Mike Tomlin. Somehow he does it every single year. And finally, we don't have to talk about the AFC South, do we? Like, it's the Texans somehow find a way under the best defense in the NFL to make it. I mean, that offense is starting to find its legs. Like, that's a scary team. I don't want to see Houston Texans in the playoffs. Jacksonville. All right, let's just run through the teams that Josh Allen has to get past. Possibly Baltimore, but probably not. So Pittsburgh. Okay, a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers and a broken Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Okay, Josh Allen. There we go. We take him, right? Every time. New England, previously mentioned. They've shown that they can beat New England. They can shock all of the fans at Foxborough or Gillette or whatever the hell that stadium's called now. And they can overcome a 21-point deficit and get a win. All right? Houston. Do we really trust Stroud yet? We trust that defense, but do we trust Stroud over Josh Allen? Probably not. And now we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who, God, that game was fun to watch. And I keep telling you that Denver ain't shit. Denver ain't shit. And I still don't think they are. I think what happened to them last week is going to happen to them in the playoffs. But do you think Jacksonville can beat Buffalo? No, you don't, right? You don't. If one game to decide your life, you're taking the Buffalo Bills. You're not taking the Jacksonville Jaguars. And finally, that brings us to the Denver Broncos. We don't trust them, and we don't trust Los Angeles Chargers. So here we are. No Chiefs and a clear path to the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills. If they don't do it this year, when? If not now, when, right? Anyway, really quickly on the college football playoff, it went pretty much how we thought it would go. Oklahoma should have never been in the playoff. Alabama shouldn't have been in the playoff. Both teams should have been replaced by a Notre Dame. There's no reason to have 2 group of 5 teams in the playoff. There just isn't. There isn't one. You need one team to see if they can be a Cinderella story. They usually won't, but maybe. And that's all you need out of those group of 5 conferences. There's just one. They have no business having 2 teams in. Let's make these games exciting. You gave Ohio State the easiest path in Miami, but Miami's a tough out, and I don't think Ohio State's that good. So right now, it just looks like the playoff committee did everything they could to get as many SEC games as possible, and that's disgusting. But what's not disgusting is how much support you've shown us over here at TheSadFan for the last 4 years. We are so grateful to you, and we want to thank you for all of your support over the last 4 years, and here's to 2026. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next year.
Back to the block, I'm scamming. Back in the shop, I'm scamming. Get it off a dummy, I'm scamming. Always getting money, I'm scamming.